Good morning, everyone. I'm running a little bit late for work, and I am procrastinating, and I don't want to go in today. But I was watching some YouTube videos, like I do in the mornings, and I'm subscribed to a channel called iHealthTube.com, YouTube, and they talk about health issues. There's a lot of doctors, and I've criticized some of them. There's an anti-vaccine doctor, which is kind of what I want to talk about. But this one was on, you won't believe the reasons dentists still use this. And of course it was dealing with the mercury fillings. And this doctor was explaining that they have studies proving that mercury causes diseases, loss of hearing, uh, suicidal thoughts, all the stuff that mercury is associated with in our fillings. And it compiles. The more fillings, of course, the more mercury, and it does fade over time, but when they're new, you get a lot of mercury. And he was explaining how unethical it is that once we have something that is as good or better than mercury, we have an ethical mandate to switch to that, because mercury is obviously killing us. My initial thought was, well, I don't know why people are so worried about vaccines. There's almost zero mercury in vaccines compared to the amount of mercury put in someone's fillings. Especially if you're military, you're just getting a ton of mercury. And a ton of suicidal thoughts. Maybe something there. But he was explaining that it's the money. And again, the military government is hugely invested in mercury fillings for the Air Force and Army and Marines and all the military personnel and everyone that gets welfare. Dentists use mercury because it's cheap. But the issue he was saying is that if they admit to the scientific data that it causes these problems, then people might start going, oh, I have mercury fillings, I lost my hearing, or I have suicidal thoughts, or I tried to commit suicide and I believe it's the mercury. So they open themselves up to all these lawsuits. So they're trying to cover it for as long as possible. And in my head, that's why I wanted to do this video. I just wanted to put out that it's hard for me to imagine pushing it under the rug and thinking they're going to get away with it. Maybe it's just the people that are in power at the moment want to push it under the rug until they're out of power, and then somebody else can get blamed for it. And then when they get into power, they push it under the rug until somebody else can get blamed for it. So it might be a blame thing, trying to not take responsibility for somebody else's issues. But anyone with a spine, of course we're talking politicians here, but someone with a spine should, when they get into office, go, oh, look what we have. We have evidence that causes this. Why are we still using this? And switch it. It's just frustrating that our politicians, our governmental entities are so slow to correct an obvious issue. When science brings up or science exposes an issue, like asbestos, way back in the day, it always is depressing that a politician would rather cover it up and not deal with it instead of take responsibility, be an adult, be a leader, a representative, and go, look what we've been doing, this is terrible, we need to change it, we have better information. And I think a politician would actually rise to the top after, of course, they were attacked by all their moneyed interests. Just a sad, depressing start to the morning. A realization of how much we avoid discomfort, especially at the governmental level. Anyway, good morning.